town community there occurred, and that's when that report of a tornado came out just a couple of moments ago. So tornado warning for at least something that was observed. Damage at this point not confirmed, but tornado observed, so you got to go with it. South of Corinth is going to be close on the south side of town. Crossroads Arena, you're pretty close to that on this here, but certainly if you live south and east of Corinth, the locations near Glen, County Road 106 in the path of this Job's community, this is rotation, could potentially attempt to be a tornado, could have been a tornado, at least is 60-mile-per-hour winds to possibly 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and that's about on the level of what a tornado will be tonight, one of these fast, quick tornadoes that pops down and pops right back up. Let's go back to the southern tornado-warned thunderstorm. That one is impressive. And what? Now, John, okay, I see the rotation on this. I mean, anybody can see the green with the red here. But what's interesting is that it looks like you have the area here that's pretty much, I believe that's, what road are we at here? Is that 370 there? I'll have to double check that. I'll have to get in a little closer here. That's not 370. That is Highway 30, I think. Yeah, because there's 370 between Dumas and out there toward Jumpertown. That is definitely some rotation there, but you have this area down south here where you have at least an enhancement of straight line winds that are down there in that 70-75 range here. So very strong winds moving east out of this, even though the circulation itself is moving more in a northeasterly direction. It's just moving so fast. And so it's because of that. Boonville, I haven't mentioned you yet on this thunderstorm. The tornado warning does not extend all the way to Boonville, and it might not be a tornado at all. But what it is some 65, 70-mile-per-hour winds back there toward Dumas. And so if you live in Wheeler or Boonville, this is heading toward you. And this is probably going to cause some damage as it moves in your direction. So I'm going to track it at still that 75-mile-per-hour range. And so Boonville, it catches you at 11:11. Current time is 11:02. Moving very, very quickly. At least some damaging winds there. Let's be in our tornado safe place if we live in Boonville as well. Even though this is technically not a tornado warning that includes you, there is a severe thunderstorm warning out for your part of this thunderstorm right now. Checking the tornado debris mode on Storm Track Doppler radar. Let's investigate that. Let's make sure we can't confirm a specific tornado out of this at this moment. And I don't have anything on here that I believe at this exact instant is a tornado. But certainly some strong winds. Now we've updated that again, and the pixel-to-pixel wind change on this is still, let's see if I can get it where it's right next to one another. Still 40, 50, there we are, 70 miles per hour. More of an interaction on the north side of this being detected on Storm Track Doppler radar. Let's get it to a view. I can't even keep it really in view. It's just moving so fast here. So Boonville, I'll try to widen it just a little bit so you're in the shot here. This is coming toward you, and this is probably 70-mile-per-hour winds as it moves in your direction, at the very least, if not a rotation that could develop into a tornado. I'm going to check the wind mode on just the straight line wind, see if we can catch what it has there, and it's only going, it's at the wrong angle to really catch it here on Storm Track Doppler radar to be able to show you the big number that we believe it's probably producing at this second. So at the very least, strong straight line winds out of this, and possibly a tornado, and so it's with that in mind that we have to be very careful, be in that tornado safe place if we live in Boonville. Let's reset things for a moment here. We have 2 tornado warnings at this instant and a number of other thunderstorms that are in a zone where we still have a lot of fuel, but the strongest winds aloft aren't exactly placed over top of you. The farther south and west on this end, not going to be as primed and ready for tornadic development as you will be closer to the north side of this. So let's go ahead and just double check the wind mode on Storm Track Doppler radar. Let's go there and let's look out of Columbus. We're going to go to Pontotoc County here in just a second, but I want to double check that in just a moment, make sure there's not someplace else here that we need to be paying close attention to. Let's go out of Memphis. Okay, so let's come back into northern Pontotoc County for a moment here. There's a little rotation there north of Pontotoc, closer to the Ecru area there near Buchanan at this moment. It's not super strong, but this is how it sometimes starts. It's just that little interaction there near Buchanan, right there. So south of Flatwood, this heading in a direction taken near Ecru and Ingomar. Let's track it at that same 75. We're not going to dwell on it because it is at this moment not fully developed. And we do have something that is a couple of somethings that are fully developed. Ecru, 3 minutes or less. Wallerville in 9 minutes, 10 minutes into Blue Springs, and Halltown in 16 minutes. This is circulation. This is not a tornado. It's at least 60-mile-per-hour winds based on what we have seen on Storm Track Doppler radar today. Okay, so we do have a storm report coming in a few minutes ago from the folks there in Oxford. The emergency manager out of Lafayette County there with some updates on the thunderstorms went through there a little bit ago. Confirmed through our Joel Young, transformers blown on the west side of town. That's the reason why you had some power outage issues there. No reports of trees down. And now, no reports of power lines down. So what it was is obviously a blown transformer as opposed to power lines down. That good news, that one thing that lends itself less to tornado potential and more toward straight line winds with this. Our meteorologist, John DeLusick, with a storm report on this. John, go ahead.
Well, make a long story short, we've got from earlier this evening, right around 9:50, 5 to 6 power poles that were reported down snapped. Now, snap power poles in around the Batesville area. If you backtrack the storm that's right now crossing from Tippah County into Prentiss County, that little cell right there that's now into western sections of Prentiss County, that is the same storm that did this damage in the Batesville area. So backtrack to 8:50, now it's moving again west of the Boonville area. So we need to certainly keep a definite eye on that one. Because
so that one has
past history.
And that's the thing, like on a night like this, when it has that past history, you're absolutely right, John. That's when you have to be careful because it might be just those 1 or 2 little embedded areas you have to watch. And so that's why they're doing that. New severe thunderstorm warning coming out on that thunderstorm we were looking at a minute ago, and that tag we mentioned often where it says tornado possible, that's what they're using on this one here with the circulation there north of Ecru. At this moment, they're expecting wind speeds in the realm of about 70 miles per hour. That's the number they're going with. Hail that's less than 3/4 of an inch in size possible. Not necessarily likely, but possible out of this. But that rotation that is, they're going with tornado possible as that description. That would not include folks in Tupelo, but that would include northern Lee County, folks in Baldwin as well as Saltillo. We're looking at Blue Springs and Union County, Ecru there in Pontotoc County involved in this. Ecru, it's 2 minutes, 8 minutes in the Blue Springs, 16 minutes, Saltillo, Baldwin in 20 minutes, and Marietta, if it continues at this pace and at this angle, in 27 minutes for you. That is rotation that at this moment has not been confirmed to be a tornado, but is something we're going to have to watch very closely. And by the way, for all the folks there on Facebook Live, that cut off a second ago, that was my weather call coming in because of our location here at the station. They put those out. Oops, I need to pull that off there. I get those weather calls too because you never know when something's going to pop up even in the middle of the night. And they have, on the latest moment here, now gone ahead and issued another tornado warning on, and this is designed to cover a couple of areas, but in particular that area near Blackland and Jumpertown, moving 75 miles per hour toward Boonville, a rotation that could potentially develop into a tornado. It has been strong, it has been sustained, and as John mentioned, it has produced damage off and on for hours now. Near Blackland, that's where we're looking at this, west of Boonville, moving 75 miles per hour toward the east. Now, latest scan just a moment ago, and that may or may not be a radar artifact, but what it is something that catches my attention. 112 mile per hour pixel-to-pixel wind change south of Jumpertown, west of Boonville on this thunderstorm. We need to be in a tornado-safe place, Blackland and Boonville and Thrasher and Rienzi, because of this circulation. Now, is that sometimes we're looking kind of high up here in this thunderstorm, but certainly that's a zone we have to be very, very careful near the Gaston area and Boonville. I'm going to track first that little area of circulation. I'm going to go up to 80 miles per hour on the movement on these just to have an extra moment or two because they're just moving so fast. And so Gaston there, or Gaston, it's 2 minutes for you. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that right. Thrasher, 4 minutes, 9 minutes in Jacinto. And then Cairo in 12 minutes. That pixel-to-pixel wind change at 112 miles per hour. If you know some folks who live up there, get on the horn with them, let them know to have a heads up, and they need to be thinking about their tornado-safe place. Let's get a track that includes Boonville proper. I'm going to track the southern part of this at about 75 miles per hour still. This is going to include folks that do live near Hills Chapel, as well as Osborne Creek there, 11:10 p.m. for Osborne Creek. Boonville, we're talking at 11:12, so we're talking 3 minutes. I mean, 75 miles per hour to 80 miles per hour, it's moving a lot faster, and you're going to be able to drive to get out of it. So we're sheltering in place wherever we're at if we're in Boonville. That's why we started talking about this before the thunderstorm came through there. So let's talk about those tornado safety rules and where we need to be. And that's a sturdy structure on the lowest floor, a room in the middle, have the volume on the TV up. We'll give you some all clears. We haven't done a very good job of that. We'll go back and give some all clears here in a moment. Wrap up in blankets, pillows, and stay in that place until we can give you the all clear. And in Boonville, you need to be there now. Okay? The mid-level rotation showing up on this, and this is not going to keep up because of how fast these thunderstorms are moving. Right over top of Gaston there, now approaching Highway 45. And we keep giving these updates for Highway 45, and we're going to keep having to do that farther and farther south on this line because of how quickly these are moving there, and the next batch is still coming upstream. And so that rotation there near Gaston, still 70-mile-per-hour winds likely out of the part of this thunderstorm that's moving in the direction of Boonville and should be there in mere moments. Looking at the two-direction wind mode there, this is right along 45, at least 70-mile-per-hour pixel-to-pixel wind change there along US 45. That's what this highway is right there. And so the northern part of Boonville there, this is going to include Northeast Mississippi Community College, folks there, Thrasher within a few moments as well. A strong wind gust at the very least out of this thunderstorm, a rotation that could potentially be a tornado. Got to go north. You need to double check our Alcorn County circulations. They have not proven to be overly impressive in the last 20 minutes or so. I'll check from our Memphis radar site here to confirm that. Pixel-to-pixel wind change out of Memphis as well. There are some areas of rotation on this. They're not overly impressive. We can give you the all clear, I believe, in Corinth as well as Kossuth at this second. Rienzi, we still need to be in our tornado safe because of the southern storm. And I would say most folks over here in Tishomingo County, because we don't know exactly where this is going yet because it's had some erratic movement in the last 30 minutes. All the folks there in Tishomingo County, including Burnsville, Iuka, Holcott, Burton, Tishomingo proper, we all need to be in prepped and in our tornado safe place out ahead of this. Let's go down the southern part of this line here, and let's look at this for Union County, and let's check the location on that rotation, which is severe thunderstorm as opposed to tornado warning. And the latest location I would have just south there of New Albany. I would have it just south of I-22. So again, if you know folks driving between Tupelo, can we just shut it down? No, not necessarily shut it down, but can we just choose not to go for the next couple of hours north and west out of Tupelo or Sherman or Blue Springs up toward New Albany and Memphis and Myrtle? This section of road farther and farther southeast on it is just going to have some issues going forward. So we probably need to make sure we're in our safe place and not out driving, because most people that get injured from tornadoes or strong straight line winds are in a car or a mobile home. So if you're not in either of those, you're going to be fine in all likelihood, certainly if you're in the center part of a sturdy structure. Speaking of Union County, we did have a report come in a few minutes ago here from Union County Sheriff Jemmy Edwards. 2 calls of trees down in the western part of the county. I believe that was from storm number 1 on County Road 515 and on County Road 14. Deputies going to check that, and we appreciate the folks that are much more brave than I am that go out and do these checks during this kind of weather, and appreciate that, them for doing that, and appreciate you for staying in and not contributing to any issues that we have out there. And John, in a minute here, we'll try to get the Tupelo Tower Cam popped up. We're going to look back toward the north and west on that to get an eye on that. But I want to go up to Boonville here. Let's check, because now Boonville, you're getting hit at this moment with those strong, at very least, straight line winds. Now, one thankful thing I can say on this is that the rotation over top of Boonville proper is not quite what it was a couple of minutes ago. So we might be able to dodge this bullet, hopefully, but I don't want to take any chances, and we got to be in a tornado safe place. Looking at the interaction, and anything that we have today is going to spin up. It's going to be quick, and it's just going to whip up really quickly. And so that's why I look at 5 different spots here where you have 50, 60 mile per hour pixel-to-pixel wind change. Which of these is going to dominate and be the one to spin up? At this point, we don't know for sure. So we have to assume along this line that the next point could be any of these. I'm putting my money up on this one that's approaching Thrasher, though. That is the most likely of those to possibly wrap up and produce a tornado at this instant. Looking ahead, and let's get a new storm track on this, because it's been a couple minutes and it's moving practically 80 miles per hour. And so it's, have I said it's hard to keep up with? It's hard to keep up with because of that. Thrasher now, Jacinto 6 minutes, Leedy in 9 minutes, and Burnsville, we're now in Tishomingo County with you, as well as Leedy, we're looking at 12 minutes for you. A tornado warning, a rotation that has at times in the past produced damage. And so we assume, and this, by the way, was the thunderstorm that produced damage back when it was in Union County. So we have reports of damage. Is it tornado damage? Weather Service will have to determine that. But Tornadoes cause damage because of the straight line winds associated with them. And so even though we always talk about straight line winds, the rotation in a thunderstorm, it's not the twisting that causes the damage. It's the fact that the wind hits it at a certain speed, and then it weakens it from multiple directions. And so it's the wind that causes the damage in either case. So that location now directly over top of Thrasher, let's track it ahead. Let's get new times for you. So as mentioned now, 4 minutes into Jacinto, Aliti 8 minutes, 11 minutes into Burnsville. Rotation that could potentially produce a tornado if it is not a tornado at this moment. I'm going to track slightly south on this, include the altitude community on this, Holcut as well, Cairo. 3 minutes into altitude, Cairo 8 minutes, 9 minutes in the Holcut. Rotation now, remember we looked at like 7 spots along this line. I guess it was actually 5. And this one was our stronger a minute ago. Now this is spiked up just within the last couple of moments. There's a lot of adjustment that goes in on these kind of thunderstorms because it's not the typical afternoon supercell thunderstorm where there's one rotation. This is just a line of wind. And right now, this wind's a little faster, and so you get a circulation. And then that wind's a little faster, and you get a circulation. So it kind of jumps around on us. So now our stronger of the circulations is probably just to the north and east of Boonville along County Road 1101, moving northeast at 80 miles per hour. We say that again, moving northeast at 80 miles per hour. You can't get out of the way of 80 miles per hour. So you don't want to get in your car and try to do something. You want to shelter in place if you're in the tornado warnings ahead of these thunderstorms here. Our meteorologist John DeLucic with a little information coming in. John? And we'll get his microphone up.
Ready with the view of the tower cam to our north and west, roughly 315 degrees.
Okay.
To our northwest.
Okay, so let's pull that up here, and looking out of our Tupelo tower cam, what we have, and this right there, that glow you see, that is New Albany. Okay, so we would be looking into that thunderstorm that has some of those signs of rotation. I'm going to see if I can do some weird stuff on tower cam here, so stick with me a moment. I'm going to change some of the settings, and it's going to kind of pop around on us. It'll settle down here in a second. We're looking for texture in the cloud. In particular, John, I want you to, I'm going to go away from this for a moment here, but this is at the very least a shelf cloud, some low-hanging clouds that are running ahead of this. Those low-hanging clouds associated with some of that precipitation. You can see in the foreground here those clouds moving from south to north, and then these are going to be kind of coming generally at the camera, and really it'll be farther southwest there in particular that we'll be watching that here into the future. And so our tower cam, because we have the part of it that allows light in pretty much wide open, it's going to move and look a little more grainy, but that allows us to have a little more texture of these clouds and watch these thunderstorms as they move in. So John, if you can, we'll try to monitor this very, very closely because of that fact, because this is something we're going to have to definitely be watching on this, because that's going to be as good as any of these storm spotters that we're going to have. So appreciate that, and I appreciate John, your help, and everyone back in the control room here for helping us out as well. So here's what we have, and you can see all these little spins there. The radar is struggling the same way we are to keep up with the rotation. I mean, the radar doesn't usually expect a storm to be moving 80 miles per hour. And this does have more now of a bow shape to it. It's finally starting to fully look more like a straight line wind producing thunderstorm. And I know you see these spins, you're like, well, how's there straight line winds? And that doesn't, by the way, diminish any of the severity of it just because we say that. That actually is more in line with some of the stronger wind potential tonight. So let's, okay. I had what looked like some, on our tornado debris mode, what it might have been something there north of Boonville, right there. But here's how I can tell that that's not something. I'll try to keep my hand at the exact spot there. We go to the precipitation mode. If you notice, there's nothing right there where my hand was, right? So that can't be tornado debris. It has to be that under this precip. So luckily, thankfully, we have not had any tornado debris reports on Storm Track Doppler radar. We still have had damage. We still likely are having some strong wind reports out of this, and a tornado warning is still in effect and should still be respected for northern Prentiss County and eastern Prentiss County, southeastern Alcorn County, and much of the northern 2/3 of Tishomingo County. I'm going to track the straight line wind. I'm just going to track the whole line here at about that 75 to 80 miles per hour. Let's catch Burnsville. Let's catch Iuka, Jacinto. We're talking now for you. Leedy at 11:22, Burnsville at 11:25, Walker sighting there at, that'd be 1126 Iuka at 1131 and Oldham at 1134. Winds that are at least 65 to 70 miles per hour, and there's still that slight chance of a tornado. Let's advance that one more time because it's just moving so fast. And now that has you Burnsville. Okay, that's about the same times on those there on that latest scan. So tornado warning does continue for those locations until 11:45 p.m. as that storm moves toward the north and east. I'm going to go down the line here. Let's check the wind mode because this is what we have to do. We have to just kind of keep looking south and say, what's the next one on this line that's showing some signs of rotation? And I'll get the wind mode up instead of the precipitation mode for a moment here. So there's the one we were looking at previously. That we'll go back to tower cam here in a minute to double check as we continue to watch this. There are a few other areas there near Takapola, maybe a little bit of rotation. Let's go back a couple scans on that one there. Then we got to go back up north because that one has spiked up. And actually, I'm gonna jump right back up there because what wasn't as impressive 5 minutes ago up here in northern Tishomingo County, up pretty much right on top of Pickwick Lake now, has gotten more intense very, very rapidly. So right pretty much over top of Pickwick Lake, we have rotation, pixel to pixel wind change in the last couple moments here. That's up to 60 to 70 miles per hour, and that has just this last scan and gotten more organized. I mean, you can see it's been there last couple scans now, those brighter greens there. So we're talking just a little east of County Road 321 in northern Tishomingo County, just on the east side of Pickwick Lake there. We're looking at winds that could be at least 60 miles per hour, or rotation that could be a tornado in the developmental phases. As this moves toward the east, the speed on all of these is, I even have a hard time saying it, 80 miles an hour. That's just really fast. Just really, really fast. I mean, and that tells you how much of the strong winds aloft are being transmitted down to the surface if it's moving these that quickly within the line there. So 6 minutes, we're talking the Waterloo area there. That's outside of the WTVA viewing area. Burnsville, though, the rotation on the northern end of that. Now, see, that's now spun up just a little bit more here in the last couple moments. So Burnsville, let's be in that safe place. For you, we're now 1 minute. Now, we've been tracking this one back to the south. You're like, wait, 1 minute? I thought we had a few more. That's the struggle we have tonight, is that in the next radar scan, you might have something that spins up, and the scan after that, it's gone. And so this is that scan where maybe there's something here. We're looking kind of high up. Out of abundance of caution, we'd rather go than not go. Let's be in that tornado safe place. If you live in Burnsville, pretty much in the next minute or two, it's at least 65 mile per hour winds. It might be 70 mile per hour winds. It might be something more than that. It might be a tornado. Let's go south, and let's look south of Jacinto. I say that, and now the latest update there. A couple things have happened. That circulation's weakened. That circulation's weakened. That circulation's weakened. Yay! So let's check closer here, the location on the long-lived one. And the unfortunate thing is we're looking so high up here that you can't tell for sure what's going on the surface. When you're this far away, you're never actually looking at a tornado on Doppler radar. You're just looking at that rotation, and then through a lot of meteorology, assuming exactly where it is at the ground. But we're just looking so high up here that it's just got to be careful with it. So I don't have any specific locations that come up in the immediate next minute or two on that one there. Let's go ahead and go to 80 miles per hour on the straight line track. And let's catch Iuka in that. Cairo at 11:24, so pretty much now Iuka at 11:31, and Blythe crossing there at 11:33. Rotation, at the very least, straight line winds and possibly a tornado. The northern part of this, by the way, the Weather Service in Huntsville has extended a tornado warning that does include some of their counties up there. We do have a new storm report coming in from our meteorologist, John DeLusick, as well. And John,
those are the storms southwest of the Tupelo area, over on the Coffeyville area, Yalobusha County. I'm not sure if you brought up that.
I have not touched there. I saw that one, but yeah, go ahead.
Came in at 11:15 report from amateur radio report. Trees snapped or uprooted. Now, again, this is a report from the National Weather Service as of 11:15. That's about roughly 9 minutes ago. Okay,
and there's obviously a difference between uprooted and snapped. In either case, it means strong winds for sure. And that location, John, give me one more time.
It is, again, the location roughly in Coffeyville.
In Coffeyville? Okay, 11:15. So we go back here to, what's interesting about that, John, is it storm 1 or storm 2? Because look, are you on? Look at 2 for a second here.
Okay.
Hey, Marquise, is it possible to pop weather 2 into the big monitor there, so it's just as easy for John to look over the big monitor as it is for him to switch over to weather 1? I appreciate that. We need to remember that for next time too. Okay, there you go. You can just look over at the monitor from now on, John, the big monitor, and see what I'm looking at there. Okay, so you have storm number 1 there at, I guess that's 11:04, 11:05.
Okay.
I mean, storm number 2 at what, 11:12, and storm number 3 at 11:23.
It's not the
Which of the 3 is
11:23
it?
Most likely it's the one in between.
Yeah, okay, you think the one in between?
Because
let's
it
check
was,
the wind
report
mode on
was
Storm Track.
11:15 it was 11:15 over the city of Coffeyville.
11:15. That time might be estimated there.
Sure.
Because I would say 11 p.m. The reason we're getting into this and trying to break down which of the 3 is it is because then for future, I mean, if it has a history of doing something, you know, if you have a friend and he has a history of not paying you back, you don't lend him money, do you? Okay, so if you have a thunderstorm that has a history of producing damage, you're going to pay more attention to that one, aren't you? Yes. So we're looking at probably the middle one, if not the first one there that's now, because they're moving so fast near Sarepta there. So we're talking Coffeyville to Sarepta in about 15 to 20 minutes there. That one that has prompted a new severe thunderstorm warning as well. They're capturing that thunderstorm, and they're capturing the one that's probably the stronger of them, even though it doesn't have the reports to go with it there. Near Coffeyville, we're looking at that one. Let's go ahead and track that one first. Let's keep that speed of, well, let's just keep 80. Because you'll notice that they extend this warning all the way from Coffeyville to Tupelo. That tells you how fast it's moving and how much of an advance heads up they're trying to put on this. Now, they do not have the tornado possible tag on this, so that's at least an improvement in that regard. But a lot of folks in here. So Bruce, 11:35 for you. Algoma at 11:48. Hulka at 11:50. Troy at 11:56. Tupelo at just past midnight. And Plantersville at around 12:06 p.m. Rotation, is that there? Yes, we do have a little bit. Is it a tornado right now? No, but we're going to have to watch this pretty closely. And John, would you grab me the charging cable that's under there? I'm going to have to plug in my phone if it's going to, it's under the, yeah, you probably know where it is. It's either there or underneath the desk I always sit at. Let's track the front of those 3 thunderstorms, because like we said, let's catch Pontotoc and Tupelo in that one. This is the one we think probably had the damage, if not the one that's over top of Bruce. So Pontotoc, we're looking at 11:37 for you. Springville, 11:32. Zion Community, 11:41. The western part of Tupelo there at about 11:46. And Tupelo, that'd be middle part of town, at just about midnight. That's for the leading one of these. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and check the middle, just to do our due diligence, which is right over top of Bruce. And there's some times on your screen. So have we given you a bunch of times? Have we confused you with enough times? I know that it's hard for me to keep up with these as well, because they're just moving so fast. And so there's the times on your screen, just in case it is the middle one of these 3. Is it rotation? Yeah, there's a little bit. But more than anything, we're concerned at this point with straight line winds, the damage that could bring with it, because tornado potential on these, any tornado we would see would be fairly short-lived. Still have to respect it, but that's part of what we're considering. By the way, Marquise, your microphone's still open. So tornado warning does continue up here for northern Prentiss. Now, I think we can give some all clears for folks back here into Alcorn County, Kossuth, and Corinth. We already talked about you. Rienzi, let's give it another 2 or 3 minutes, but you're probably fine. Burnsville, the strongest part of this is right over top of you at this moment. Altitude, something we're certainly monitoring for you as well. Now this, and I really appreciate this report coming in here just a moment ago. Zach, one of our many folks who help us out behind the scenes here. No reports of damage through the E911 up in Prentiss County at this point. And considering some of the wind returns we've seen here, the history of damage, let's hope we can keep it that way. Storm report coming in from our meteorologist, John DeLusick, on these thunderstorms. John?
Brian from the North Mississippi Chasers and Storm Spotters reports tree down on 9th Street, that is in Boonville, and part of a roof in the road in front of the KFC in Boonville on 2nd Street. So we are now getting reports on that damage. That circulation earlier here about 10-15 minutes ago went right over the city of Boonville. It
did. So now that I'm over top of Boonville, give me both those things one more time, please.
Now this is reports again for a tree down on 9th Street in Boonville and part of the roof in the road in front of the KFC in Boonville on 2nd Street.
Okay.
That's from Brian from North Mississippi Chasers and Spotters.
Okay, tell Brian we appreciate him. We appreciate all those folks with North Mississippi Storm Chasers and Spotters, local volunteer fire departments, as well as police officers, sheriff's officers that are out there doing the hard job of spotting this tonight, because it's difficult to pick out much of anything on